Pike County Fiscal Court's in session. We now have a roll call of the members, Madam Clerk.
Judge Rutherford.
Present.
Magistrate Anderson.
Here.
Magistrate Johnson. Magistrate Murphy.
Here.
Magistrate Robinson.
Here.
Magistrate Dodson.
Here.
Magistrate Harris.
Here.
We have a quorum. We'll now have pledge of allegiance by Magistrate Murphy, who's a veteran. You have in your packet a copy of the minutes of the June 5th meeting. Jeannie has reviewed it. I've reviewed it. We both found it to be correct. And I'll have a motion for approval, please. Have a motion. Magistrate Johnson. Have a second. Magistrate Robinson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson. Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson. Yes. Magistrate Dodson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes. We don't have anybody signed in for public comments. You know, securing the future of Pike County, it's not an easy job for this court to do, and we work hard at doing that to enhance the quality of life. But as we do that, we always try to honor people who deserve to be honored, and we can't do anything by ourselves at all. You can't do it in your family. You have to have support from your family. You have to have support from your church to even survive. But in government, this court has a policy of honoring people who deserve to be honored and who are community leaders. The Lord didn't bless everybody to have leadership ability. The Lord really blessed this fellow and gave him a desire at a very young age. He served the country, a Vietnam veteran, and the United States Army. Worked as a coal miner, and then started working in his community and in Pike County for people in his home community and the people of Pike County. A lot has happened in Pike County that this fellow has had his thumb on, that he has supported. A lot has happened in his community. And that's Eugene Gibbs. Eugene is with us today with his family. It's been a joint thing between him and his wife. They have worked tirelessly together as a team. And I can remember a conversation with Governor Patton when he was governor, and Eugene had put a group together, and he convinced Governor Patton to give money out of the governor's discretionary fund to construct a community center on Blackberry. He led that delegation to the governor. He was successful, and he brought that center to Blackberry. What Eugene Gibbs did was contagious. He had volunteerism became something that was norm in Blackberry. Of course, when you build a center, you got to have somebody to take care of it. Since then, Eugene has taken care of it. He carried the keys. He's worried about the maintenance on it. and he secured it. We honor, this court does, very much the veterans. We got a national award for Veterans Hallway. And we're proud of what this court does for veterans. But again, Eugene Gibbs organized again in his community to recognize veterans. A beautiful, beautiful memorial to veterans at the park at Blackberry. And he was able to help raise funds, to bring the volunteers together to do it. And the Veterans Memorial Park was established on Blackberry. Fire department. You know, as Doug Tackett said the other day, and as Magistrate Harris said, you got to have community support before you get a volunteer fire department. But it was Eugene Gibbs. Bucky Witt, let's go ahead and we name several, but I don't want to start names because I can't get them all. That helped. But he was the president when the fire department was established by this court, by Pike County Fiscal Court, adjacent to the Blackberry Elementary School, an active fire department today. Disabled Veterans of America and American Legion. Active member. Eugene Gibbs is a brother Mason. Served that body, Stone Lodge, for 14 years thereabout as treasurer. He didn't stop there as a Mason and a Shriner. You see up on the screen here the transportation vehicle. He's one of those drivers we talk about every year at Hillbilly Days. Talk about these blessed children that need to be able to walk again. And but they got to get to Lexington. They can't afford the transportation. And Eugene he's part of that A-team that we honor every year at Hillbilly Days. Eugene Gibbs has always been approachable, always had a smile, always willing to talk with you. Our Senior Citizens Program, a program that means so much to so many families in this county. People who've paid their debts, who helped build this county through their family and past generations, providing them with a program. Eugene been on the board. He's been chairman now for a few years. Paid nothing. He volunteers. The whole board do a great job. Give these seniors to get up in the morning and to get out and Bobby and have some place to go. It's the social life they have, only social life they have. The meals, the nutritious meals they get, may be the best one they get. Our home delivery program, which that board handles, touches so many homebound people whose health don't permit them to go to the center or to keep going to the center. Then, if anybody that's watching Pike TV today has never been to the Blackberry Center, you ought to visit it. Eugene, Bucky Witt, the other volunteers, called Sweat Equity. when you talk about Habitat for Humanity. It's where your community gets involved and you raise a home. That's what they did for this beautiful. Matter of fact, I believe that the trees was harvested on the property next to the Blackberry Senior Citizen Center. It's just adjacent to the community building I told you about earlier that Governor Patton gave money out of his discretionary fund for. But what a job they did. Months it took them to, the people in that community, with the help of Pike County Fiscal Court, of course, and support. And Eugene, Governor Patton, couldn't be here today, but yesterday afternoon he gives his best regard to you and your family and the people on Blackberry of how lucky they are that Eugene Gibbs became active in the community. And he sent the following email yesterday afternoon to Jeannie. It's very appropriate that Eugene is being recognized by the Pike County Fiscal Court for his many activities over the years to improve his community and county. If we are to have communities we want to live, work, and raise our families, we need citizens like Eugene to lead the way. Sometimes it's the extra things that makes a difference. Eugene always goes the extra mile. Eugene, I congratulate you for all your work you've done for your community and your county and your state. That's former Governor Patton. Gail and Eugene have 4 children, Van, Dennis, Tava, and Deetra. Have 8 grandchildren and 1 grandchild. And I know that grandchildren and that 1 great-grandchild is, especially the great-grandchild, is spoiled, knowing Eugene and Gail. But first I want to ask Carl Napier. Carl is our Social Services Commissioner, Community Commissioner, and Carl works with Eugene on a daily basis. And Carl, I know that you want to probably pull that mic over there and make a statement in regard to this.
Thank you, Judge, for the opportunity to say a few words regarding Eugene. As you mentioned earlier, he does serve on our board. He has for a number of years. I was blessed when I took this position that he was serving on the board at that time because having come into a new position as program supervisor of the senior program, there's a lot of history behind it and history that I didn't fully understand myself and the workings of the program. And so I say that I was blessed in that I've called on him a number of times, Judge, when situations come up that I wasn't familiar with or when I needed his advice on how to proceed on certain issues. And you know, I just considered it a blessing to be able to serve with Eugene on that board. Eugene and his wife, Gail, I always say behind every good man there's a good woman, and Gail is. We've traveled many times to Frankfurt, you know, looking for additional funds for our program. And during that course of time, since I assumed the position in January of '07, I consider Eugene a dear friend to me. As I said, he's, I think the fact that he's willing to give back to his community, not only just to his community, but he served this country as well. His military record speaks for itself. And the fact that he's given back to his community speaks volume as well. And as you mentioned, Judge, those individuals that serve on our board do it, you know, out of their heart. They're not compensated for that. And I think anytime anyone is willing to give back to their community and not expect any compensation in return speaks volumes. And I'm glad to see him be recognized for the time that he's given to the senior program, because it's not, I've talked to Eugene about past history of when the Blackberry Center was first established, and it wasn't easy by no means for them and for Lou Witt, who was the center director at the time. I've often, when he's spoken of those times, have felt, a lot of people were just thrown up their hands and given up, when you meet opposition, but he chose not to do that. I know where his heart lies. He cares deeply about our seniors, and he's willing to do anything he can to stand there and be an advocate for them. And I just want to say I appreciate Eugene, and I appreciate you in this court for recognizing him for the work that he does do on behalf of the senior program as well as for his community. Thank you for the opportunity.
One thing that I marred Eugene for, and Gail both, that they give the Lord credit for what happens. Hillman Dotson is a good friend of Eugene Gibbs, and Mr. County Attorney, I'm going to let Hillman say a few words. If you'll come around to the mic, you'll be next, because Hillman, Eugene is your friend, so if you'll come around to the mic and be ready, and Hillman's going to go next, and then we'll ask you for this brief comment. Magistrate Dotson.
Judge Keith might want to sit down because it's going to take me about a half hour. Now, Eugene has always been there, Judge, for the people in Blackberry, and anything they were up for, he was supporting them. And he's probably one of the biggest bums we have in Pike County. He's raised more money, I guess, for different foundations between the lodge and the senior citizens, and he just keeps on, and he knows where to go to the trough to get the money to help when he needs it. So, he's always there to ask him. It don't bother him a bit. But, looking at this building, it brings back a lot of memories, and I'm thinking it was a few women come to Freeburn Senior Citizen Center one day from Blackberry, and they said, we would like to have something like this in Blackberry. And Blackberry had never had the opportunity to have a center. So one day, Eddie Harris, he was the magistrate, sitting beside of me here, and he said, Governor Patton wants to know what he can do for each one of the magistrates. And I told him, I said, Eddie, you tell the governor that we need $100,000 to start a senior citizen center in Blackberry. So we were able to get that first 100. And, with the help of Damus and his public works crew, we were able to build probably one of the most beautiful senior citizens buildings in Kentucky. I would put it up against any of them. But when we got over there, we ran into a problem. We didn't own the property. So all we had was a little spot of land down at the foot of the hill. And we'd already built one building up there and didn't own the property. That was when Karen Gibson was in. And it was our community building. So Karen got busy, and she got with, I think it was Pocahontas, wasn't it, Eugene? And we were able to purchase all that property there where the building is in the park for, I think, $30-some thousand, $35,000. So, that started us off. We was able to get the property, and we started work. We had a lot of volunteers in Blackberry volunteering their help. And, I'm not going to mention any names because I'll leave somebody out. And everything came together so good, and they had the blocks laid, and Eugene would go out each day and he'd count how many blocks that the crew laid, and he'd write them down. And he had a notebook one day, and he'd give me a copy of how many blocks they'd laid each day. And he monitored it all, and we just keep going back each year asking for more money, and finally we were able to get it completed. And I'm going to say that we were very proud of it, and I know you and the court all participated in it. and we were able to get this building built. But, you know, it takes people to keep the building going. A fire station with the truck in it, no help to drive it is no good, and that's the way this building is. And, you know, Lou Witt and Bucky, her husband, were probably one of the best helpers that we could get to help get this building going. And Bucky was building furniture and working, taking out the garbage each day, and just, you know, that is two people that stick out that I know that helped Eugene. And we had a crew, and I remember Earl Sullivan, when we were building the building, Eugene, we came up one day and we put boards up on Saturday to try to help speed the building up. But this was a building that was built with love and hope, and we finally seen it happen. But you know, that's just one thing that we can say happened on Blackberry. You know, we've got a beautiful park on the lower end, and it's all in Blackberry, whether it's in the lower end or upper end. You know, these people over there, they work together and try to make things happen. And one thing about Blackberry, we were able to have plenty of property to build on, and that makes a big difference. And Judge, I'd just like to say that you've picked a good person to honor, and Eugene, just keep up the good work.
Hillman, I remember that we asked Massey Cole for, I think, $25,000 for the kitchen to go in this new building. When Don Blankenship, when it crossed his desk, it came back, it was $50,000. Now imagine that. Don Blankenship, regardless of what you've read, the man had a heart, and he cared about his native county of Pike. And Massey had mined a lot of coal on Blackberry and made a lot of money from Blackberry. But that's the leadership of Magistrate Dotson and Eugene and that community over there. And I had the opportunity to thank Don Blankenship personally later for that contribution. And that's the reason you ought to visit that center over there. Mr. County Attorney, if you would come around, I know you would have to wake him up over there.
I'm letting him know that I'm running, gonna be
He's
running.
making notes, so Hillman, he's going to try to beat your time.
Yeah, we could do that. Every neighborhood has legends, and I grew up in Jeff Anderson's district. In fact, Jeff grew up in the same house I did, about 10 years after I did. But we all know the local legends in that area and the people that you honor and the people that maybe not known throughout the whole county, but very well known in that particular area. I can pretend like I know everybody in all those areas, but I don't know a lot of them. Kenneth's dad was the same in that area, people like Bumper Jack. Eugene, we usually honor these people, and the judge usually gets around to recognizing people after they've passed away. So when I lived in Cincinnati, they wanted to name a street after Pete Rose, and everybody in town raised a big stink. They said, we got to wait till you die before we name something after you. Fellow that invented the cure for smallpox, they wouldn't name one after him because he wasn't dead yet. He was like 95. So they said, how could Pete Rose mess up? He's a legend. There's no way he can mess up. So be careful when they start honoring you before you leave here. I don't think Eugene will follow the same path as Pete Rose, though. But this is a great day and a great honor for him. And I know why they're honoring you right now is because they want you to keep working. First time I ever met Eugene, and when I think of Eugene, I think of two B's. I think of Blackberry and then Belfry, and people over in Pikeville think of Belfry as the entire school district of Belfry. So I know Blackberry's not Pond Creek and it's not Peter Creek, but it is part of the Belfry School District. So those of us here think of Belfry as the Belfry School District, and Phelps as the whole Phelps School District. So we'll call Chris will acknowledge that you're considered a big part of the Belfry area as well, the entire Pond Creek area over in there. He has been a hard worker, and that's the reason I don't like to ever see him. Because if you all ever seen him and he wasn't planning something, a project, or will you come back on July 18th? I guarantee there's a date in July he's got that he wants us over there for something. And I guarantee he's wanting us to do some work over there. But it's great to have people that work. The workers are few, Judge. A lot of people like me like to sit around and talk about stuff. I'd rather just show up when they're eating and having a good time. But there's a lot of people out there get a lot of work done. And Eugene's one of them, and it's a great day, and great that you're honoring him here. Everybody's already said all these great things. I could stand up here and blow it. I will tell you one thing. everybody remembers everybody for the first time they saw him, right? Your wife, your girlfriend, your mother, your sisters, your husbands, your boyfriends. I just remember when I think of Eugene, I think of onions. Every time I saw him, there's a big bags of onions at the shrine. I'd go over and meet him at the Masonic Lodge. I'd see him over at the Masonic Lodge. And what was those onions for? You sold them. I think, was that for the van? It was something for the shrine. It was for the van. Okay. I had to buy the biggest bunch of onions, and I brought mother onions. I brought my sister onions. Brought everybody in the family onions. I might have even given you some, Frank. Do you remember? I brought onions to everybody on this side of the hill. But anytime I think of Gene, if I outlive him, I'm going to bring something with onions to his passing. So when I see Eugene, I'll always think of those onions. So if you got any more for sale this year, I'll buy some more onions. Thank you all.
Thank you. Magistrate Harris, then the rest of the magistrates have had anything to say? You can
I'll
add
be
to
glad to chime in here, Judge. I want to thank Eugene. You know, you have a lot of people who are involved, and a lot of times they get involved, and it's a very limited way that they're involved. They kind of nibble around the edges. But Eugene, you know, when we were going through our budget process, he was here. You know, he had his nose in what we were doing. He kept up with what we were doing. He educated himself on what was happening, and he was a real benefit to a lot of people by being involved like that. And you know, I wish we had a lot more people who would do that. You know, get involved and find out what's going on, and they could do a whole lot of good for a whole lot of people, like you have done. And I appreciate all that you're involved in. A lot of good causes, a lot of good organizations. I'm not your magistrate because my district stops at the top of Hardy Mountain, although I try every year to get Hillman to trade me for blackberry. He won't turn loose of it. But it's a pleasure knowing you, and we appreciate all the work that you do for all the good people on blackberry.
Magistrate Anderson.
Judge, I would like to echo Magistrate Harris's comments as well. I've gotten to know Eugene pretty well since I've been magistrate, and he, as the others have mentioned, he spends a lot of time. He volunteers, doesn't get paid, and to me that speaks volumes of an individual. And I'm very fortunate, and the county's very fortunate, or I feel fortunate that you're a part of the senior center, and I also glad that you are involved in the budget process. It's it's not fun. We've had a time this year, maybe the toughest time that we've had since I've been a magistrate, but I would like to see more people like yourself be involved. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's hard when when somebody doesn't get paid to do something. It's hard to get people involved in the activities of the county. But I would like to thank you for everything that you've done and all that you've done for the seniors. Thanks.
Magistrate Johnson.
Eugene, I've known you for several years, and I just hear people talk from that part over in there. They say you're doing the best job they are in anything they're going. We'll respect you, and everybody likes you, and you're doing a good job.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes, I've known Eugene now over 10 years since been magistrate, and I found out he's a tireless worker. When he sets his mind to do something, he works at it hard. But another thing is he's a fellow Vietnam veteran too, and we appreciate you, bud.
Magistrate Robinson.
I think he does a good job helping the senior citizens. I never did know him until we got down here, but I think he does a good job.
Okay. Eugene, we have a presentation to make to you and your family. And if you'll come around, we'll do that. And we want to hear a few remarks from Eugene Gibbs. And James Young, we appreciate your support and appreciate you being here today. So Magistrate Dotson and the magistrates, Jeannie, if you have this, we have a resolution drawn up, and before you all can come on up. While you're doing that, we'll ask the county attorney, Mr. County Attorney, if you would read the resolution, then I'll ask for a motion and pass it.
Yes, this is a resolution of the Pike County Fiscal Court recognizing and honoring Eugene Gibbs. Whereas, ask anyone who knows Eugene Gibbs, and they will tell you he's a giver, And whereas Gibbs is a Blackberry resident who loves and is fully involved in his community both locally and across Pike County. And whereas always wearing an infectious smile and always approachable, he is one of the area's biggest advocates of community and family. He is always involved in and dedicated to each other. Whereas he takes his involvement seriously and does not receive 1 cent in compensation for the hours and hours of work and multiple trips to Frankfurt to stand up for what he believes. And whereas as chair of the Pike County Senior Citizens Boards and a member of the Stone Lodge F and A&M, his commitment and dedication set the bar high for others. Therefore, we, the Fiscal Court of Pike County, hereby recognize and honor Eugene Gibbs for his hard work, dedication, and passion for everything he does.
Have a motion, Magistrate Dodson.
Motion.
Motion, have a second. Second, Magistrate Harris. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson.
Yes.
Magistrate Dodson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris. Judge Rayford.
Eugene Gibbs, as you and your family come around, we'll make the presentation. My pleasure to present to you Eugene Gibbs. Eugene, you can.
Well, Judge, I really don't even know where to start. You guys has blown me up so bad, I think we'll have to open this big window to get me out of here. So, but most of all, I want to thank the Lord for blessing me and my family over the years to be able to do something that I enjoy very much. And as Carl said earlier, you know, there have been times that I went home and just throwed up both hands and said, Lord, you're going to have to do something because I'm about ready to boogie. I got to get out of here. This thing working right. But through his blessings and my family, without them, I couldn't done it. And I can go down the list, as Hillman said earlier, and start mentioning names, and I know I'd miss somebody out. But now, a lot of the things that I've done, I could not have done it without the people surrounding me. And, you know, my family is real close to me, and the Lord is close to me. But the one thing that really stands out a whole lot in my life is the Senior Citizens Program, because, you know, we have 8 senior citizen centers over this county that most of you all know, and 3 of them happens to be in Hillman Dotson's district, and it's been hard from day one to come up. And as Hillman said, we did go down there, and Hillman and Earl Sullivan and myself and Bucky and them, we were down there nailing boards up to try to get this building going. So we opened it in 2004. And it is the most beautiful center that you've ever walked in, and I've been in several of them. I never go to a city that I don't visit a senior citizen center so that I can get ideals and find out different things and what have you. But these senior citizens are really, really close to me. I know when we opened our center in 2000, we started a memorial board for our seniors. As of today, since January 2000, we have 84 deceased senior citizens just out of our center. And if you go down the list on that board and pick one out, I could tell you a little story about it. All of them, because I've been with them, I know them personally, and they play a big, big part in my heart. And that brings me down to this. Without that, I couldn't have done it without you guys. You know, and as Chris said earlier, I was over here for the budget. I did get educated, absolutely, positively. And you go out in the areas and you try to tell your people in the communities, you may be cut here, you may be cut there, and they don't understand. They don't understand the fact that why do we have to be cut? We're the largest county east of the Mississippi, and we should have money running out the hillsides, you know. but it's just a way of life, and you have to sit down and teach them, you know, different ideals to try to keep them on track to come back to our senior citizen center. They come in and they enjoy it. All of them has a different personality, and all of them expects a hug and a hello every morning, and I just love it. I mean, it just it's a special place in my heart, and all of them knows that I try my best. You know, they respect me, but it took several years to earn that respect. That don't come in a box. You got to get out and you got to earn it. And for all the senior citizens, I know we serve 1,398 senior citizens all over Pike County, and we have a whole lot more out there that we could serve if we just had the fundings and the you know how the terrains are around here. It's hard for us to get to these people, but we're coming. Just look for us. We're coming because we're working in different ways to get monies to help to serve these people. But again, I want to say that the budget process that you all went through and some of the things that I've learned through this budget process has been real experiencing for me. And I can take it out in the communities and tell some of the people how it is, and they tell me how it's supposed to be, but yet I try to educate them and tell them, you know, these people out here are trying everything they can to keep our centers open, and I thank God you all did. I thank God you went back there in that room and you talked about the senior citizens program, especially the Pike County Senior Citizen Program. And I think I can stand here in front of you people in this TV and say that I speak for the Pike County Senior Citizens Program as a whole. And as the chairman, I speak for all of them, saying we thank you from the bottom of our heart, each and every one of you that voted, and you did, to keep our senior citizens afloat. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you very much. I actually thank you for this award. I appreciate it. If you could put a note behind this, there'd be a whole lot of people behind this to help put me up here in front of this court. I thank God, and I thank this court, and I love everybody. Thank you very much.
Let's give Eugene Gibbs a hand. Mr. Cassidy, I hope you made your notes. Your paper has not been any help to us as we've gone through this budget process, and we've not tried to run your newspaper, but you certainly tried to tell us how to do a budget. It's the people's budget. It's not the newspaper's budget. It's people like Eugene Gibbs and these people that these 20 meetings we held on the budget, we was completely open and transparent, regardless of what your pen said. So we will now move on with it. We are in the process of complying with the Kentucky statute and the guidelines as set out by the Revenue Department and the Office of Local Government. And on the agenda next is the second reading of the 2013-2014 budget. And Mr. County Attorney.
Yes, Judge, this is a second reading ordinance budget for fiscal year 2013-2014. It has been duly advertised and is appropriate for presentation today. In summary form, total budget appropriations for the general fund is $10,631,747. Total road fund, $8,501,690. Total jail fund, $4,875,390. Total LGEA fund, $5,512,727. Total federal grant fund, $0. Total forestry fund, $29,128. Total solid waste fund, $6,458,076. Total LGEDF fund, $539,787. Total maintenance garage fund, $1,528,840. A grand total of all funds of $38,077,385. That is the total appropriations. Total receipts is a like amount. This is a second reading. It was approved as to form and classification by the State Local Finance Officer on May 30th, 2013. At this time, it would require This would require a motion, second, and then a majority vote for adoption, Judge.
It'd be my recommendation and motion, and I need a second, please. Have a motion, have a second. Second, Master Dotson, have a roll call vote, please.
Pastor Anderson,
Judge, before I vote, I would like to talk about some things that I read in the paper last week, and I'm sure a lot of us read about the coal severance tax that went to Rupp Arena. You know, I've wrestled with this budget issue for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I've gone over each line item. The fire departments, we did have to cut. And every time I turned around last week, I saw a volunteer fire department. Right. Even my neighbors, I had a neighbor's house who caught on fire, and it was, I think, Coal Run. I had to come down and down where I live, put a fire out. I know we got to pass a budget. I know that we're required to pass a budget, but you know we've had this discussion several times in this court about the severance tax issue, and it's not fair. I'm sure everybody got phone calls on the severance tax that went to Rupp Arena. We can sit and go back and forth on that issue all day, but I think it's an injustice to the people of this county that the money belongs to, that it goes elsewhere. And you know, I think it's very unfair to the people out in the county that don't have a myriad of services that they should be entitled to. And I think obviously we're getting shortchanged when our money goes outside the county, and we're having to cut not just fire departments but other areas as well. I think it's unfair, and I'll vote no.
And also, Mr. Cassidy, to your paper again, you didn't carry any story at all about the severance tax situation, as bad as it was, and bad, morally wrong. It was not fair. It was unbelievable, and yet you all chose not to run a story in your newspaper in regard to our severance tax money going to Rupp Arena in the city of Lexington. So, and that's things that I don't understand about. And of course, I made my statement. I'm sure everybody saw it on television. It was in regard to that situation. And does any other master have any statement to take before we take a vote?
Judge, I would like to say that it don't matter what we think. They're going to do what they want. And we've got numbers that we got to deal with. I know it's unfair. Everybody in the county knows it's unfair. But what can we do about it? There's nothing we can do about it except deal with the numbers that we have in front of us. And I think that we've had meetings on top of meetings. And I agree with Jeff, you know, I hate to see the fire departments get cut. But we also lost other people in our county. And hopefully we can redo what we planning on trying to undo. And, you know, I don't see any way around not voting for this budget, because if we say no, then we're going to have to go back again. And we're going to have to start working. And I don't know, we're searching for time. We don't have a whole lot of time left. And I would just like to say, you know, that I don't agree with what our legislators done with our coal severance money. And I seen an article that Stumbo had put on the news that he was going to try to pay back some of the things that he had done to the counties that wasn't satisfied. He's going to try to find some other funding to help with the decisions that they made. Is that what you've seen? And, you know, that's all I have.
Judge, I'm going to, I know this isn't the roll call, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to vote for the budget. I'm real disappointed that we have to make some of the cuts that we're having to make. I did read your letter regarding the Rupp Arena coal severance money. A lot of it I agreed with. I look at it a little differently. If I was the mayor of the city of Lexington and somebody was going to give me $2.5 million, I'd take it.
Take it.
Yeah, just like the city of Pikeville. If the city of Pikeville, if somebody's going to give them 50% or 60% of the coal severance money, if I'm the mayor or the city manager or a councilman, I'm going to take it. So I don't think the fault really lies with the city of Lexington. I'm disappointed some of the votes that we took this year on the fiscal court. I don't think that commercial air service is a good use of coal severance money. We haven't heard anything about that. I don't know what the status on the commercial air service is, but I know a lot of money was spent researching it and studying it, and $1 million of coal severance money was designated for that. We gave away, over the past year at the airport, we gave away a piece of property at Marion's Branch that was probably worth 2 to 3 times of what was actually received for it. We've lost millions of dollars at Mountain Water that's unaccounted for. It's tough to vote when you see that kind of waste that's been out there. But like Hillman says, we are where we are. We have to pass a budget. There's some difficult cuts in there that are going to be long-term, and it's only going to get worse unless things change. So that's my 2 cents. I will vote for the budget because I think we have to have it, but it's not something that's a pleasure to do this year.
Mr. Dodson, you got something there?
Chris, I'd have to say that you're right on a lot of issues, but one issue I'll disagree with you on is the airport. You know, that was multi-county coal severance money that we were spending there. It wasn't monies that was to be spent in this county. And I feel like if we didn't spend it in Pike County, then it was going to go to Letcher or Martin or some other surrounding counties, Perry or somewhere else. And I'm hoping that this air service will be good for everybody. I'm thinking that we will see some good things come out of it, and hopefully we will. But like we said when we voted, it's just a chance we take when we vote on these things. And, you know, I just want to clear that one thing up, that was a multi-county money, it wasn't a Pike County money.
Well, we don't have to agree on everything.
Any other statement?
Yes, Judge. I don't like the budget no way, form, or fashion, but I'm going to vote for it because this is a hope and prayer, you know, that it will work. And we'd be very lucky if this budget works for the year. And it's just tough, and I don't like no part of it, hardly. But you got to do some things when you got to do it.
That's, the treasurer has cautioned us, the office of local government has cautioned us, and
Judge,
go ahead, Mr.
on
Magistrate
this
Johnson.
thing here, a lot of things I don't like in the budget. In the fire department there, some says we cut them a little short, but I'll tell you this, I'd do anything worth for the fire department, because I've been one of the strongest sponsors in Shelby Valley for the fire departments, and I'll do anything else for them. So we just hope we can find some way or another to, if we took anything away from them, to try to get it back for them some way or another.
Correct. Magistrate Robinson.
I want to vote for it, but I didn't like cutting the fire department neither, but
I feel the same way. You've heard it. I feel the same way as these fellows. We're meeting our obligations that we're supposed to meet and complying with the statute and complying with the guideline. Have a roll call, Madam Clerk.
I'm going to start over. Magistrate Anderson,
No.
Magistrate Johnson,
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy,
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson,
yes.
Magistrate Dodson,
Yes.
Magistrate Harris,
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes.
Hey, Judge, I have just a comment. I was going to mention the Doug. We had a wreck a couple days ago down at Deskins, and I'd had some of my constituents ask me about some of the confusion about who to call, which if it was the city or Coal Run, and we had, I think, had this issue before. Have they finally got that ironed out north of Pikeville? Which first responder to contact?
I think they have. Normally, if those come in cell phone, they transfer them straight to the city.
Okay.
Doug, check that out. I'd like to know that too. I'm like Magistrate Anderson. I got calls, I'm sure same people probably talked to him.
Yeah, and they had I think that one actually had a fatality.
I'm not
I
sure if
believe
it did or
they had
not.
to fly, I think, helicopter in. I believe, is that right, Frank? But I had gotten some calls, just,
What I was aware of that trooper come up on the accident, called it into post. Post had already been notified. They'd contacted ambulance service. They called right back and wanted to know how fast the ambulance service is gonna be there. City responded, fired the ambulance service out of the city, fire truck. Some of the emergency city people were there. You know, anytime anything goes on, it'll come through post and the location, and you'll have co-run knowing how close it is,
Right.
respond to it. And it was a bad accident, you know. Next thing they said, you know, they need the helicopter. First they wanted the ambulance, and they called in, the EMTs called in for a helicopter. So you know, people get excited, in my opinion, and I've been kind of a police officer all my life. You know, I don't care who gets there, as long as they respond. You know, I worked in the coal business, and when we had an accident on our jobs, I already had a designation job, and it was my job. First, I would go see what happened, being the superintendent, whatever. The next thing I did was run off the hill and meet the ambulance to direct them directly to the accident. And, you know, people want to throw stones at Coal Run or throw stones at the city. The main thing is take care of your people, and that's what they did.
right.
Okay.
You know, one thing that I thought that we might want to consider in the future, and we've discussed it briefly, is, I don't know if we would, maybe Rhoda could help us out on this, is to pass some type of ordinance to where, at the very least, the closest, no matter who it is, you know, what section of the county, that the closest responder at least gets notified.
Okay.
Because I know they all don't do EMS.
Magistrate Anderson, and that responder is within the city. They occupy part of Interstate Gas's office next to Walmart.
Right.
So, I mean, they're in the city of Pikeville, Doug,
Yeah, they do.
too.
Yeah, well, one of the problems, and we've had this issue before, is if we have a wreck north of Pikeville, you know, well, should say north of Mossy Bottom,
Yeah.
and you know, if Coal Run's closer, you've got Hurricane Creek,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, you know, depending on the location, maybe closer. Do we need to, and we probably would need to run it by the fire stations as well, to at least see if they, you know, if that's something, because I'm not sure, I don't think Hurricane does EMS services.
No, they don't.
I think Coal Run used to, but I'm not sure if they do anymore.
I think they still do.
Okay.
Yeah, Coal Run still does.
But that might be something we might want to look into, because I'm like Frank said, if it's, you know, especially if it's our family, you know, I'm like Frank, who cares who it is? They all do a good job.
Well, a lot of times they both respond together on
They
those
do.
accidents down through there.
A lot of times they go if they're not paged.
Right.
And so, you know, and I think they all work good together, but we just want to make sure that everybody gets,
Taken
you know,
care of.
you know, fast and, you know, fast service.
Okay.
That's all I have, Judge.
The Tug Valley River Sweep took place on June the 13th, and Charles Carlton, I want to thank you for organizing that. It's with the Ohio River Coalition and the Big Sandy Coalition, of which you are the president of. This year it was in West Virginia, but when I say we, the community, the volunteers, and the county crews picked up in this particular area on the Kentucky side. And last year, as you know, it was I guess last year it was on Knox Creek, up on the head of Knox Creek. And next year it comes to, looks like the Russell Fork. If I understand it, it'll be Virginia's turn. And then we will be working with this group, and we thank Jimmy Dale and the Pride people, who certainly we couldn't do it without them. We thank Emergency Services. I told Jeannie that we need to critique this year's and make sure that next year that we get ready so we can do a better job. Doug Emergency Services boat, but we had a pontoon, Barriston Harris belonged to the county, that up on Grant Branch Lake, this court rebuilt about 3 years ago, rebuilt the engine, rebuilt everything on it. But that boat is available. We need to remember that next year, that we need to have river sweeps are primarily done with pontoon boats, not with just regular boats. But we need to get ready for next year. What a beautiful area. We discovered that the aquatic of the Knox Creek was well alive, fishing over there. They talked about a 68-pound catfish that a fellow had a picture of that he held up to his chest that was dragging the ground that came out of that stream, about the bass and everything that the have to read in these newspapers about that this is the Sea of Galilee, that we have dead streams and where coal is mined. Coal hadn't bothered at all. We went through that. We brought the fish down here hillbilly days. So the river sweep couldn't have been if it wasn't for the volunteers, and it couldn't have been if it wasn't for the committee that Charles Carlton's head up. Then we've had the Lee Robinson dedication, a fellow who certainly deserved it, and Chick Johnson and I and Judge Hayes and others was able to go up there and honor Kenneth's dad, and it was certainly an honor to do that. Somebody very deserving, a very close friend of mine, very close friend of Sheriff Kazee, and a former magistrate sat right in this body here and served his area. And I told him up there, the committee that come to see me about building probably the third fire station when we started building, it was only two in 1970, was Lee Robinson with the group saying, let's get one and then we was able to buy that property. The Fiscal Court bought the property, all that property where the Southland Bible Institute used to be, for a excellent senior citizen center on the hill, a park that Lee Robinson's son was able to bring up there next to the fire station. And then we have a good location for the county garage for equipment just across the road from that. And we worked on that with Magistrate Robinson this year, cleaned the lot up, fixed the fence up. It looks great. And Carl, your all's facility up there over the years has been just absolutely wonderful. And that was the old coal company superintendent's house, as you all know. And then we remember how the dormitory for the Southland Bible Institute and the people who headed it lived in the old superintendent's house. But Vietnam Wall, Jeannie Robinson, she's worked her heart out in regard to making this thing work. It's going to happen. It's sponsored by the city of Pikeville and the Pike County Fiscal Court. And folks, these veterans organizations and sponsors has helped raise the money. This don't come cheap. We didn't have a lot of money to put in it. We put $1,000, the court did last year in the budget, and the city matched that with $1,000. But Jeannie and all of these organizations have raised around $10,000. You'll have, not only with this wall coming in, but you will have, the wall will be in on the 2nd, and it will be met with 2 vehicles, one from the police department, city of Pikeville, and a sheriff's vehicle, escorted with them. This is required to get it to come to your area. It will be escorted from the county line at Dorton, and it will go to the Bob Amos Park. The motorcycle group has been organized by Jimmy Kinney, and they will escort it up to the park. Then there will be another motorcycle group who has volunteered to bring some people in to help set it up. And it will be set up with county help and with the city help. And it will be a solemn occasion, and that's the reason that it will come in and it will open on the 3rd. There will be a dedication by this body, the Fiscal Court, and the city on the morning of the 3rd at what time, Jeannie? At 9 a.m.
Anybody else, if he's left?
on the 4th, excuse me, on the 4th of July. Now, we know that they're always a 4th of July celebration at City Park. They didn't want this located there because it is they wanted it quiet, no cell phones, no smoking in this area. It is a very solemn occasion, and you know, most people, and we had more people killed, and we know how these veterans that lived through it was treated after they returned home, and this is a little payback for people who gave all and some who gave some. And we'll never get to go to Washington and to see this, and to have some closure in losing that loved one who gave the right for us to be here and announce this today. Shelby Railroad Union coming up. That is a state festival, and we have a lot of sponsors on that, the tourism, local tourism, and we have a lot of sponsors on that. It's at 9 a.m. They'll give 4 scholarships this year to railroad-related children of 4 different scholarships. We do that in relationship with William Clark Enterprises at Ashland and Bill's wife, who Bill's a native of this county, and Bill's wife Joyce, and he matches the reunion dollar per dollar. Virgil Osborne is the chairman of the scholarship committee, and the committee has chosen, and they had several entrants from children in the high schools in the area that the CSX serves. All you got to do is bring a dish. On that is the last Saturday of this month, on the 29th. The ceremony starts about 11 a.m. at the grounds and in the church of the Grace Baptist Church at Shelbyana. So that's coming up, and it is a great day. Gary Justice, if you go back to that, Gary Justice has a display of Shelbyana and the railroad yard, just like it was all the years, and you'll see the difference in it today. But Gary brings that every year, and then you'll have setups on it of memorabilia from the railroad, the chassis system, the C&O, and of course the SX. So that's a great day, well attended. And then we have today, and Mr. Greenfield had asked Dan to make this available to him today. They had asked that we announce today, and they changed their time from 1 o'clock to 6 because they're trying to get the word out that the Little Frock Old Regular Baptist Church on Tuesday today, on the 18th, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., they're taking sign-ups on their water service on Johnnyton. And that means that people need to get out to that Little Flock Church today, sign up. We had the groundbreaking. The Office of Surface Mining has provided the funding for that through this fiscal court, this body, something that Magistrate Murphy has worked on since the day he was elected up there. So we need that word to get out, and we had asked Brandon to get it out to our local papers and assist the Water District any way we could getting the word out. So we're hopeful. The Hatfield-McCoy feud, the Hatfield-McCoy Theater, we was able to get with Magistrate Dotson, Charles Carlton and I was, and go over those grounds over there and see what had been done with the action that this court took to get the restrooms constructed and to get the stage ready for a live drama, a live production that starts on July the 29th, if I look at this correctly, and the 213 shows. This is Friday, July the 27th is the first show. I was looking at the one that's on Sunday. So they'll start. That will be, and that is sponsored by this fiscal court. We have a lot of sponsors in this, and they will be listed later. We thank everybody that's been involved. All county offices will be closed July the 4th in observance of Independence Day, and they will be open Friday with the regular hours on Friday. We have also to bring to the court and the people's attention. Beyond that, Jeannie, we had one or two things we wanted to bring up, and one of them is to discuss the bridge that we've worked on with Charles Carlton and and with Laurel Land Company, and of course with the coal company in regard to the bridge that reads over, a private bridge owned by the coal company that comes from Magistrate Harris, that comes from 52 over to, leading to a state road down to Burnwell, connecting with 119. We'll give you an update on that. Charles called, and the engineering report on the bridge is to be forthcoming and sent to the Transportation District 12, Mrs. Holbrook's office, and with the request going to Frankfurt to take this into the state system. They had offered that bridge, Magistrate Harris, to the county, but I don't think it would be proper for us to take it from a state road in West Virginia to a state road in Kentucky. That the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, and they make that decision in Frankfurt, should take this bridge. And it is a well-constructed bridge. I've seen pictures of it. I've seen a report on the bridge previously. So it's that will be forthcoming over there, and we'll keep you appraised on what's going on in regard to getting that bridge into the system. That's where your marathon crosses over into West Virginia and comes back into Kentucky. Plus, the road from where that connects with 52 is very dangerous and crooked. You don't have that far to go, as Magistrate Harris knows, and it's a pretty straight road down on the Kentucky side. So we're going to continue to work on that. We took up with the Transportation Cabinet the safety of the people attending this, what I just talked about, the outdoor drama on 1056 at McCarr, and we've asked a study to be done immediately, a painted walkway from the parking area across the road that we hope that they'll come back with that recommendation. We've asked signage to be put up to try to keep somebody from getting run over on the coming down the Tug Fork from where the old railroad bridge was. Their curve there, and it's very dangerous rounding that curve. We brought that to their attention. We also brought the attention and asked for, and they have agreed to put the message signs out prior to this production over there, Magistrate Dotson. They're going to have the message sign up the road and down the road to try to slow people down. We've also requested, and they said they would get one for the Shelby Railroad Union coming down 460 and 80 before you get the turn up to where you go up the hill. That is the report on the transportation. Did we have anything from the housing that we wanted? Yes, we did. We had on the housing, we wanted to take up on the habitat. They have been 2 meetings held. Magistrate Dotson organized the meetings, and it's been held. If I don't get it correct, Judge Hayes updated me on the last meeting, and Dan Hillman, you'll have to help me, but it looks like that they're going to be able to give this to a nonprofit, which qualifies under the deed restrictions. Mr. County Attorney, you was involved in this and brought their attention to the deed restrictions in the deed, and they are deed restrictions that has to be complied with. We would have liked Magistrate Dotson and I for the property to went in a different direction, but it has to go into this direction to this nonprofit that's set up by the Pike County Housing Authority. And we have met with Gay Newsom. So that we'll still keep the court appraised in regard to that. And that was all from that meeting, wasn't it?
Judge, I think Carl might be able to update us just a little better on that. I don't think it's going into Pike County Housing. I think
It is a nonprofit set up through the Pike County Housing.
I think it's a Christian organization.
Randy Johnson is the chairman of that. Affordable housing, I'll get it right.
Yeah, it's through the Pike County Affordable Housing, and as the judge mentioned, Randy Johnson is the chairperson. I serve on that board as well. John, Doug, and Daniel were at the meeting as well, and given the way the Articles of Incorporations was set up for the Habitat, Phelps and Habitat, it fell right in line. Actually, Hillman, it was like a perfect glove. The description were to the T. So we were pleased that we were able to get that properties. I think good things are going to happen in that area. In fact, Randy Johnson, Gay, and myself were wanting to get in contact with you to sit down with the judge and sort of see what we can do with that property. But we were real excited, and as I told the judge following the meeting about the potential of developing that property, and we were, to me, blessed to have received it.
Carl, also that they bring in somewhere between 400 to 800 people to work in the summertime to repair people's homes from different groups, from the Amish groups and then from the Southern Baptist and many others. And those people pay University of Pikeville for their dormitories, so that over there can be used for the dormitories over there, Hillman, and they have cooking, and they do their own cooking, and there's a place for them to cook. And then that is a central location to Pond Creek, a central location to Peter Creek. All they have to do is cross the mountain that way and be in Peter Creek, cross the mountain the other way and be in Pond Creek. So that means that the whole county can be covered on those many requests from people who has no money for repairs to their home, and that list is long. So that is good news, and that's what our goal was. I'm talking about everybody involved in it was to make sure that we could do that. The sad thing is the lack of funding for materials for these groups coming in, and we hope that some way that the Lord can solve that problem for us, and we'll have the materials when those people come in this summer to do that work and repair on the home. Their dormitory hold about 40 people, Magistrate Dotson said, and they have cooking facilities, and it's a great piece of property, and the property can be used for other low-income housing and so forth in the future. So was that all, Jeannie, that we had in regard to the report? We'll go on from that to the budget. We have Philip Ellswick here today from Summit. If we have any questions. We've been over this time and time again, and we've held meetings after meetings after meeting. We've made trips to Corps of Engineers Huntington, about 4. We've been to Frankfurt 3 times in regard to it. So today, and I don't know, Philip, you said that the Corps you might come around, and I know that we need to move on through this, but I think you were telling me the woman been on vacation and we're supposed to get the notice.
Right. The out grant's still not been received. We're expecting it by the end of this week.
Okay, we have in writing that they are going to give us permission to build the road. That's in an email to us on the Indiana BAT email, correct, which they state, we're going to give you access to property, go cut your trees, because we're going to give you permission to build the road. So I think there are 2 things, the 2 things, Jeannie, that we needed today, 2 things. And the first one is authorization to, when we receive that notice from the Corps, to give the contractor right to begin work, and we already have a contract. The second thing is to amend the contract of the contractor, who you have an extension for until Friday of this week, if I understand it right. Mm-hmm. So those are the 2 things, Magistrate Murphy and the court, that we have to get done today so that we can start construction on this. That project, as Magistrate Murphy and I know, and Summit, is going to be phased. But by doing this, we can get that road through there, and then we will phase it. We have a commitment from our legislator from that district that money will be in the next state budget to go ahead and blacktop or do whatever needs done in regard to that road, if I'm correct on that.
You're correct.
Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, he advised the Secretary of Transportation that in Frankfurt recently, and I know that he did that, and he is on the Appropriations Committee of the House of Representatives. So hopefully we need to Can we, Mr. County Attorney, can we do these separate or do them at one time?
You can do them separate, Judge, and also I think you need to make it contingent upon receiving that easement and authorization from the Corps of Engineers. As you know, you've been waiting on them for probably 2 or 3 years
1968.
now, so just them saying that you're gonna have something by Friday,
Since 1968, the people up there have been isolated and having to drive 42 miles when this road is completed. And Joni's sitting back here. He attends all the meetings and with us. And so this is
So I
and
think
it
first
it
do
will
the
be continued, Madam Clerk, as the county attorney recommended, continuing upon receiving the document that we have that said that they are going to give to us. Magistrate Murphy.
Yes, this has been a long time coming, and I just want to make the motion, to authorize to execute the road easement contingent of getting that from the Corps. Make
Have a
that motion.
Magistrate Murphy, have a second, Magistrate Robinson, have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson,
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson. Yes. Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson.
Yes.
Magistrate Dotson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes. Magistrate Murphy, we need the second motion.
Yes, I make a motion that we awarding of the bid and authorizing to execute contract for the Fish Trap Road contingent upon the Corps' approval again, yeah.
Have a motion, and a second, Magistrate Robinson, have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson. Check. Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson.
Yes.
Magistrate Dotson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris. Judge Rutherford.
Mr. Elzick, would you email the Corps and give them that information of the court's action here today and the situation this court has with the contractor on extinction?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Now, that's been a long time coming. As I said, since 1968, those blessed people up there have been isolated. And the Corps refused to buy them out and built roads in there at 85 to 90 degrees. And this is going to ease it for them to get out there and get groceries, get to the doctor, get their medicine, and the children to get to school. And that once this starts, that'll be great news for those families. Some of those people, and I think about the people now that live up there that work so hard for it, but I think about Bourbon Harris and his wife who attended meeting after meeting, public meetings in this county and meetings at the Corps of Engineers with Congressman Perkins and members of this court in past years. So this is great news that we're able to move this forward. Denise Thomas is with us, and we appreciate that. And if you'll come around to the mic, and I want to say while Denise is coming up, this lady is the one most capable ladies that I've ever worked with in my life. She was able to be the Area Development District representative. I worked with the Fiscal Court and with Mr. Carlton and myself in regard to the county's comprehensive plan. To make sure that we could put the county comprehensive plan in the region's comprehensive plan, since the ad district under the Kentucky statutes is the one that is the regional body that has the authority and the right to do that work. It's so important to bring jobs into these counties. And we appreciate you. What we got was a notice in the mail that we could file an application. Homeland Security, I presume, was that the agency or an agency? And you all had the same notice and got in touch with you all, and you all said, we will file the application for you. So explain a little bit and briefly, and then the court can take a vote on it.
Thank you, Judge. These funds are actually through the Department for Local Government Energy Efficiency and Conservation Program. This is a grant program that will allow the county to pursue dollars to enact some energy efficiency activities in county facilities. And what has been proposed is some work on the Hall of Justice. That is in addition to the work and contract that you already have undertaken with the Perfection Group. This will involve the replacement of a cooling tower and some rework on a chiller for the Hall of Justice facility. And it is projected to result in savings of about $7,000 annually, as I'm told by the estimator on this project.
Ms. Thomas and Mr. Carlton too, one reason we was real interested in if we could get this money, there would be no cost to the county because what Perfection Group is doing could be used as in-kind. So that certainly opened our eyes and said, why not put together and file? And that's the reason we've had this relationship with you all in regard to this. Are there any questions by any of the magistrates?
Judge, I just had a question about the chiller. Now, the chiller we're buying from the Protection Group, is that for the courthouse, not the Hall of Justice?
Courthouse and not the Hall of Justice.
So it's a different.
The new chiller is in at the, as you see it out back now.
That Perfection Group need to fix these lights. The lightning bug is shining more light than these things are showing.
I know, it's the way that they constructed them.
That's
when
all
they
I
built
have.
the courthouse. Do I have a motion to authorize it to go ahead and file the application on behalf of Pike County government?
I make a motion, Judge.
I have a motion and I have a second. I have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
I see our friend Mr. Grayhouse here. The next thing on the agenda is, we'll get to his, is first the approval of the new health and vision insurance, and Mr. County Attorney and the Treasurer and the Finance Director can answer any questions, I'm sure, in regard to that. Mr. County Attorney, if you want to start.
Yes, Judge, I reviewed the materials, and I would recommend the renewal with Anthem. It's a 7.5% increase. It started up in the 20s, and they proposed 15, and finally, through a combined effort of our agents and yourself and the court, it's down to 7.5%. I don't think that we could do any better with our loss ratio. I was kind of struck by the figure that we've had a negative loss ratio 10 out of the last 12 years, so now is probably not a good time to go shopping, trying to get someone else to underbid it. So,
As the county attorney says, just a threat sometimes brings the price down. And I think that's what happened when it went from 15 down to 7.5. So, if there are any other questions in regard to the recommendation? If not, have a motion.
Motion.
Have a motion from Magistrate Murphy, second from Magistrate Robinson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Abstain.
Judge Rutherford?
Mr. Grayhouse, you'll come around. If there are any questions, you'll be here to answer them because you made a long trip up here today. And hopefully, Mr. County Attorney, you too reviewed this, and also the Finance Director and Treasurer is here to answer any question.
and I would recommend renewal with CAF and the workers' comp through CAECO. The CAF, I think, is a no-brainer in the sense that it covers a whole lot of things that other insurance companies aren't going to cover. You couldn't really get a comparable policy, I don't believe, of what CAF covers. Joe can explain in more detail if he'd like. And the workers' comp, they compared it to KEMI, and KEMI was substantially more than the CAECO. So again, I think that I would recommend the coverage with CAECO for workers' comp.
First of all, good morning, Judge Rutherford, members of the Fiscal Court, management team. As you all know, Chuck Dameron plays quarterback with the property casualty and workers' comp insurance, and Chuck had a doctor's appointment today that he simply could not reschedule in a sufficient amount of time that he needed. And you guys have seen our renewal offerings. I think we met a couple months ago, Judge, and at the insurance committee held a little meeting, and we had offered a couple different deductible options. I don't know, a half dozen or so, and after Chuck reviewed those, we had kind of had a consensus on a couple of them with CAF. If you would like to assume a little more risk on the upcoming year, there would be some premium concessions with a higher auto physical damage deductible, which it looks like would be your best bet. The concession on the property deductible, I've looked historically backwards 4 or 5 years. In a couple years, you would have saved a little money. In a couple years, you would have lost a little money. So if you're going to pick one of the deductible options, I would go with the auto physical damage deductible, which would bring the premium down by $100,321 over the renewal offering. And again, the deductible at that point would go from currently $500 up to $2,500. And you've had an average of 29 claims per year over the last 5 years. And so that would be about $58,000 of additional deductibles. But again, the premium concession is that $100,321, which would be my recommendation.
Of course, we, as a body, we've said this, that CAECO has been great to deal with in regard to our insurance. You're today in probably one of the most progressive counties in Kentucky, and we couldn't have been where we're at today if it had not been for CAECO's, what we've been involved over the years, Pike County has, with CAECO. And I know every year Magistrate Harris managed to bring a check back every once in a while from our insurance dealings with CAECO, and it's great to deal with. We've been in a real tight spot that we could not have survived if we didn't have somebody that had a listening ear in regard to our budget situations, and we just lost a piece of equipment with Jeannie, I think, is about $80,000 that we was able to get CAECO's support with their carrier to understand what the situation was. And so any other questions in regard to this on the county attorney's recommendation? If no, we have a motion from Magistrate Anderson. We have a second. Have a second. From Magistrate Murphy. Have a roll call vote, please.
I have a question before you
Right
start.
ahead, Mr.
Are we
Magistrate.
raising the deductible from $500 to $2,500 on the vehicles to save $100,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dodson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
Abstain.
Judge Rutherford.
And we appreciate you, Chuck, and you working with us in regard to that. And anytime you make that trip up here and to tell us we're going to save over $100,000, we're happy when you leave.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Next, we have on the agenda to acknowledge the receipt of the audit of the Pike County Clerk for the year ended December 31, 2012. Do I have a motion? Have a motion and have a second from Magistrate Robinson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy. Yes. Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dodson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes. Next is Hatfield McCoy Heritage Days. That's coming up on what date, Jeannie? I don't see it on here. Labor Day weekend. Let me say this, the Tourism Commission of Pike County and the Tourism Commission of Pikeville has this year put together this event. I attended 2 of their meetings representing the Fiscal Court, and that's going to happen. I told them we didn't want it close to Hillbilly Days. We wanted it later, and they said, well, we'll set it. This is sponsored by the sponsors are the two different agencies, both city tourism and county tourism, and the Pike County Fiscal Court and the city of Pikeville. This event, then We have been working, and we have emailed back and forth several times about putting together a Hatfield and McCoy Heritage Day Committee. I have to present to you today, and you have a copy, the changes I recommended in the bylaws that's being set up that will operate this facility for years to come. Is in your packet. That in red is the recommendations that I had on the second round that we had with the city. And if you noticed, I had several recommendations. The committee will be how many members? It will be 12 members, 6 county, 6 city. Did this go into their packet? Do they have this? Or did it go up on, you got it up on the screen? Then I'm talking about the, who's on the committee. Hatfield McCoy Heritage Days appointments. If you read that, the changes I made was that one thing I had them put in that you could have proxies. Then it is the sitting county judge, executive, and the sitting mayor are members automatically. Then it has to be the other member of the county has to be a member of the Pike County Fiscal Court, same as the commission. It has to be a member of the commission or a city or county employee. I'll add that. That's in that. I changed that. They have the committee set up, and they have the Southeast Chamber of Commerce 2 members, which that's okay. But I added the Tug Valley Chamber of Commerce, who is the local Chamber of Commerce in Pike County, and I have in this, if you read it, that it has to be one of their members in Pike County. I just feel that it's a Pike County festival, and that you ought to be, if you can be a member of the Southeast Chamber, but it ought to be somebody who's a resident of the county, same as the other one. And that is in this. As far as committee members, talking with the Chamber of Commerce, talking with the Pike County Tourism, and talking with some, that if we had 2 members that was members of the Tug Valley Chamber of Commerce, Magistrate Harris, if we had a McCoy and a Hatfield, that I would recommend them to you to be on the committee as from that organization. Well, we found out by email yesterday that we have 2, and one was David Hatfield, and the other one was Charles McCoy. You I'm sure know both of them. So I'm hopeful that the city, I think they meet tonight, I hope that they will, and Jeannie, you need to let them know and get them a copy of what I have asked the Fiscal Court to consider approving this festival as a county and city festival, and to also on to the bylaws, the articles of the bylaws. They are boilerplate, and was boilerplate about when I got them, but I felt there ought to be changes made in it, and in the articles, and so forth, and so that we could have countywide coverage of the Hatfield McCoy because of our drama we're having at Hatfield, and because of and also realizing that what happened in Hatfield McCoy happened in primarily on, we forget about the 2 things that happened at Burnwell, but you got 2 events in that happened, and you had 3 deaths of the McCoys at Burnwell, and then you have the cemetery over there. And then you have the Peter Creek connection with it, with the Phillips Cemetery. And then you have, over here at Pikeville, they're a part of it because that's where they moved to get away from all of the turmoil that was going on in Blackberry, where they had access across the Tug River from Mingo County, and which was Logan County at the time, and which they was riding over, and we had all the deaths, and there's no use to go into that. But I feel this is a great event. I think it will continue to grow, and certainly this body would want to be part of it. And two members of the director of the city tourism would be a member and somebody on their board, same as the county. Tony Tackett, the director, would be on the board and one of his members. So I will give you the recommendations that I have for the court. That Hillman Dotson be the other member from this body. I'm on it automatically under these bylaws. And that Tony Tackett's on it automatically under these bylaws as I changed them. And he has recommended his board member, Lorraine Lowe, be on the board. And then the city will make the appointments to the area Chamber of Commerce. And we, as a body, make the appointments to the Tug Valley Chamber of Commerce, 2 members. And I'd recommend that one Hatfield, one McCoy, being David Hatfield and being Charlie McCoy. So are there any questions in regard to these bylaws? Mr. County Attorney, I don't know how much time you've had. I know the city attorney has assisted in this. And,
Judge, I have reviewed the bylaws, and they are adequate if the court desires to adopt the same.
Judge, the only thing I'd like to change in the bylaws is the section 4. It says the initial appointments to the executive committee be appointed directly by the mayor, and the judge executive doesn't allow for
it says approved by the fiscal court. And we made sure that was in there originally.
Each appointment shall
Oh,
be
the
affirmed by
court
the
does have it.
legislative
It's in
boards
that-
as outlined
it's in
section
there.
by. Yes, that's fine.
Takes care of that. So I agree with what you were saying, but we made sure that was in there. Originally, when they started to work on them, my original discussion with the city was that it has to be approved by both bodies. Any other questions? If no question, to have a motion. Have a motion?
Motion.
Magistrate Harris, have a second. Magistrate Anderson, have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson?
Yes.
Magistrate Dotson?
Yes.
Magistrate Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Still need to look it over, but it's done approved now.
Mr. County Attorney, did that take care of those names I called out as recommended?
Judge, you probably need to make the appointments and have them approved by the court. That was just approving the bylaws.
I'll again read off who I was appointed, and that was Hillman Dotson, and for the court's approval, and Lorraine Lowe of the Pike County Tourism, and Tony Tackett's automatically on it under the bylaws of being the director, and the 2, a Hatfield and a McCoy, being David Hatfield and Charlie McCoy of the Tug Valley Chamber. Do I have a motion in regard to that?
Motion.
Motion, Magistrate Harris, have a second?
Charlie McCoy.
Have a second, have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson? Yes. Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson?
Yes.
Magistrate Dotson?
Yes.
Magistrate Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. We have a joint planning commission that's been in place for many, many years in this county, for 20 years or more that I'm aware of, and it is the Pike County, Pikeville, and Elkhorn City Joint Planning Commission. That's a statutory, Mr. County Attorney, commission. We only have in Pike County subdivision regulations, but they are the ones that enforces that, this body. But in the city of Pikeville, they have full zoning, so they have, and they've been having trouble getting a quorum. And they got in touch with Judge Hayes and Jeannie and said, we can't get a quorum. Well, our members had been attending, and we know that because Jimmy Kaiser is a member of that committee, and we looked at the attendance record when they could not been meeting because they couldn't get a quorum. But our appointees to that, and I think you've got them, here is the members. Bill Blackburn is chairman, John Elliott's on it, and Lane Tackett. Then you have Jimmy Kaiser, and then we had, is it Mark or Mike Sanders? What was it? Mark Sanders, whose dad was on it, Dave, for years, and he had been attending. Well, he is an engineer, and his employer had transferred him to Lexington. So he wasn't available to attend. So then we had a vacancy, I presume, for the other one, and this body hadn't made the appointment. So we asked, we got to make sure that they have a quorum. We know that Jimmy's gonna go. But we have Ashley Childers, who is the head of the laboratory. The name of it slipped me, but the laboratory, which is connected to Summit Engineering for Environmental. She's the head of that, that just moved here from Richland, Virginia, this past year, in the building where old Pikeville Coal used to occupy, and where EQT occupied until their building got built. And she, as a matter of fact, Jack Sykes' daughter, and she has agreed to take this appointment and attend the meetings. Then we thought we have to get somebody close that would go to the meeting so they could get a quorum. So the community appointee, we're going to recommend Tivis Branham. Tivis is retired, and as this court knows, he's here a lot, and he's here to a lot of things we have. But his health is good enough that he's still interested in this county. And I had a conversation with Tivis, and if the court will approve that, he said, I will attend the meetings. So I recommend for the Pike County, Pikeville, Elkhorn City Joint Planning Commission that we get our appointees in place and recommend Ashley Childers and Tivis Branham. Do I have a motion? Have a motion, I have a second. Have a second, have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. We have on the agenda also today, and I had talked to Hatch about it, and if you all are aware of the construction going on at the what we call the old Childers and Venters, which is now Walters Company. You all have observed that if you passed it like I have. The part of that was taken in the city, that is the part of the old Venters Road, which was the county's road. But the section that we're talking about today is a county section. It is a new bridge connecting out of this property that goes over to the Kelsey Friend Boulevard. And it is being constructed by the Walters and Company. They're paying for it. So we got a request, and I think it's proper, from Kirby Walters. Jack Walters' daughter said that we would like to name that bridge and get the approval of the court for my dad, Jack Walters, and put a small sign up, erect a small sign up on the bridge. So I'd make that recommendation, Magistrate Anderson. It's in your district, and you was involved since this thing started down there. And they've had to get a lot of permits, as you all know, to that runoff coming from that mountain out to the Russell Fork of the Big Sandy River. So, Magistrate Anderson.
Judge, I'll be glad to make that motion.
Motion, Magistrate Anderson, have a second?
Second.
Have a second, Magistrate Harris. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson,
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson,
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy,
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson.
Yes.
Magistrate Dodson,
Yes.
Magistrate Harris,
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
This court took action the last court meeting to bring back to life the Heritage Commission, the Pike County Heritage Commission. That commission had done so much in past years. It got the funding, that got the academy building rebuilt in a way that it would still retain its culture and the heritage of that old building. In 1976, I'd forgot about it, but Jeannie ran across it on the net, and the United States Department of Commerce in '76, based on the Pike County Heritage Commission relationship with the State Heritage Commission, put all the Hatfield and McCoy sites, including the Phillips Cemetery in Phelps, on the National Register. So we have decided, with everything going on over here in Pikeville, over to Phelps, at Burnwell, and in Peter Creek, that we needed an umbrella committee. That is a statutory commission set up under Kentucky statute. So the last time the court gave a permission, and we only had 10 members, but when we reviewed and looked at the list, we had left 2 members off of it and only had 10 members listed. Didn't even recommend them. Deputy Judge John Doug Hayes was left off of it, and Dr. Nancy Cade of the University of Pikeville was left off of it. Now, the name may not be familiar with you of Dr. Cade, but she was in the documentary that we all saw before the movie was played on that went national on the Hatfield and McCoys, that caused all the craze of the Hatfield and McCoys and all the thousands of visitors that have come and are going to come to this county and the Hatfield and McCoys. You had the production over there, you got the theater going in Pikeville, and you got these Hatfield McCoy Heritage Days. We felt that they ought to be, and that board, if you all could remember, was really one of the best boards, in my opinion, this court ever put together. Was Betty Hard, David Deskins, Anthony Hawkins, Bruce Hopkins, Stuart McPeak, Randall Osborne, Everett Johnson, and Jimmy Caines. And this adds to it Judge Hayes and Dr. Cade. Dr. Cade, we want Pikeville College involved because we're working on a program with Pikeville College in regard to Hatfield and McCoys. And we need somebody from that university on this commission. All of these other entities and committees and that are working to make things happen on Hatfield McCoy is going to have to report to this Pike County Heritage Commission. If you don't have good planning, and we've also are talking with, matter of fact, talked with Summit Engineering recently, and they're looking to put together a package for a study to be done for the Pike County Heritage Commission to do a plan where it would be them up here overlooking everything that's going on in the county, and then they could set goals and set new events and then report back to them about what's going on. It would be a place where that it would organize all of the unorganized things that's happening. Everything's good about it. Everything is good about what's going on over in the different areas of the county. But it will be, this will be, as we said at the last court meeting, so I would like to make the motion that we enlarge this commission, the 2 members, that make it to 12. We had only had 10 and gave out the figure 10, and the 2 that was left off of it was Deputy Judge John Doug Hayes, who is a historian, and needs to be on there, and needs to be our representative on there, and Dr. Cage. It goes, I think the board, Jeannie, would go from, and I keep saying the word 12, it would go from 9 members up to 11 members. Am I correct? So I think that's the figure. I've been using the 12, but it is up to 11. And that'd be my motion, and explaining the motion that we have on the floor, and Madam Clerk will have a vote on that.
You need a second? Judge? Okay. Magistrate Anderson? Yes. Magistrate Johnson?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Harris? Judge Rutherford?
Next we have, and I was about to overlook it, is the recommendation for appointments on the Mountain Water District Board. I had, what was this for? This is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the, I'll take that up in a few minutes. I'm talking about the Mountain Water District appointments, that we want to keep that board up to date. And you have, I hope they put it in your packet. If they didn't, I'll give you the recommendation of the same 2 board members that's on there. We had looked at their attendance records, and I see no reason why we shouldn't consider reappointing them. And my recommendation is the 2 sitting members that this court has approved previously, and the 2 that's up is Nancy Casey and Kelsey Friend the third. It's hard to say second, but I believe it's the third. And that will be my recommendation and my motion, and I'll ask for a second on it. Second by Magistrate Robinson, and we'll have a
I've got
roll
some
call
discussion,
vote,
Judge, before we take a
right
vote.
ahead, Magistrate Harris.
I'm opposed to reappointing, as everybody probably knows, to reappointing existing members of the Mountain Water Board. I've got plenty of reasons. I'll talk about some of them here today. Here's a 50-page audit from the State Auditor's Office that talks about no bid contracts and unknown costs of privatization. We still don't know where the millions of dollars went that UMG, that Mountain Water had when UMG took over. The Mountain Water Board is still not requiring UMG to provide audits of its financial statements. It's recommended by the state auditor in the report, along with violations of Kentucky's open meetings laws. That's all documented, well documented by the state auditor. They've lost millions of dollars when they contracted the operations of Mountain Water out to Utility Management Group. That money is unaccounted for, remains unaccounted for. We've been trying since the audit came out on behalf of the public to find out where those funds went, and we just haven't got any cooperation whatsoever from Mountain Water District. This board has given away the Mossy Bottom service area. It was a profitable wastewater service area. They gave it to Pikeville just for paying off the debt, and then they sold the scrap from the wastewater treatment plant, sold it for scrap when it was supposed to be relocated to Pond Creek. Every time I turn around now, I'm getting a notice in the mail that Mountain Water is charging a new fee or creating a new way to cut people off in the last few days, if they're a few days late on their bills. And I get calls, not daily, but a couple a week, from people who have been sick or out of town on vacation, and they come back and find that their water's been cut off. So it's pretty tough for me to vote for the same people when I don't feel like that the board is doing its job, and I don't think it's representing the public very well. You can't keep doing the same things and expect different results.
Any other matters?
So there was money there before UMG took over. The money disappeared. They've been very secretive about where what their finances are. The auditor said in her report that they would have had a much more thorough audit had they been allowed to have access to those records. And the Mountain Water Board still is not forcing them or encouraging them to turn those records over. And I can go on and on and on. But Judge, you know, you complain, I've seen you leading the march down at Kentucky Power over the power rates, and that's something you really don't have anything to do with. This is something you do have a lot to do with. These are your appointments. And the stuff that's going on at Mountain Water, that's something that you can change. And I don't think with these appointments, they've not shown me any indication that things are going to change there. So
Any other
I'll be
matters
voting
have
no.
any statement?
Judge, I'd like to say that we probably could get more insight if the board would come in front of the court. We've not heard from them since we've appointed them the last time. And is there any way, I know there's been a motion by you to accept this board, is there any way we could have this laid over to our next meeting and give them a chance to come and explain their side of the story, you know, why, you know, or if they're doing anything on these. I know these disconnects has been a problem, and I've talked to Rhonda about it, and I think she is addressing it to the board. I don't know if there's changes already been made to stop that problem or not, but I know we're having a lot of people call my office over these disconnects at a short time. And, you know, I just feel like it would be appropriate if we could have some members of the board to come in front of the court and tell us what they are doing.
I can't answer for the board, that'd be up to them, but I think we need to keep our appointments up to date. And Magistrate Anderson, do you have
I
any?
just want to ask if Rhonda wanted to chime in. I've gotten a few phone calls, but if there's anything that she wanted to say about the disconnects.
The disconnect policy has now been changed. We'd sent that back to the Public Service Commission. I didn't agree with that either. And that has now been changed, and the Public Service Commission has agreed to change that, and it has been.
What exactly happened? I've kind of got the back end of the details on the new policy. Did it just recently happen, like the last?
Yeah, the Public Service, the staff there at Mountain Water District contacted the Public Service Commission concerning some cash flow issues. And of course, everyone understands that the economy here is not good. And just like our garbage collections have been down, same thing that experienced at the Water District. They recommended that the district change the policy because they said it was too lenient. And when they compared it to what other water districts were doing across the state, ours was a lot more lenient than what other districts had. The board did change that and voted on a policy that I didn't agree with. I wasn't there when they voted on that. We did go back and look at it, and we did revise it to be more in line with what other districts throughout the state have, so that because we did realize that it did go from one end of the spectrum to another, and that wasn't fair to the people. And so we did agree to go ahead and change that.
So they've actually amended the agreement that the Public Service Commission approved?
They amended the policy, correct, yes.
Judge, you know, Chris hit on an issue earlier about the Mossy Bottom Sewer Plant. You know, and we don't have enough, I don't know if Al's got enough tape on his camera for me to finish all that needs to be talked about. Maybe we need to, and I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly the process that when we did the audit last time, but if we could get, you know, the whole thing revolves around what was, I think they call it the Pride on the River project, which essentially was going to take the Mossy Bottom plant to Pond Creek, and it was going to essentially provide sanitary sewer to everyone north of Pikeville, which hasn't happened. And one of the most important things, it was going to provide affordable water rates, which obviously didn't happen. Maybe we need to have the auditor do an audit on just that portion, because the county actually had $350,000. You know, we had some skin in the game, if you will, and obviously what was supposed to have happened, it just didn't happen.
Right.
You know, the rates shot through the roof, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that plant was actually the newest one in the county. And I've got a series of emails, and I know Magistrate Harrison and I actually had a meeting with the city folk in your conference quarters, and it wasn't a real long meeting, but we did meet, and maybe we could get a quote from the state auditor, see what all would be involved, how expensive it would be, and see why that was, what was supposed to have happened, why it didn't happen. Because it's affected, I think, by and large, the entire county. And I think probably could have been a good thing, should have been a good thing.
Yeah.
It turned out bad, and I think the Mountain Water District was making around $59,000, $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
But I think the agreement that I have, the initial agreement, it was a good thing, and I think it would have benefited the taxpayers of this county. But if Roland, do we need to do that in the form of a motion, or can you just maybe call the auditor's office and
Might talk to the auditor's office and see what they think about
that'd be
it.
the check and see what kind
Check
of
and see.
cost, and try to get this thing, because it's been an ongoing issue and it's not getting any better. And I'm getting, my people down my way are wanting to know why their water bills are so high and why the sewer's not getting run, and it just.
I would like to say something to that. The two members that you have up here, we're not on the board at that time.
Right.
And when you're talking about the water rates, that's not Mountain Water District water rates.
Correct. Well, what they'll do when they do an audit, it'll be
And that's fine.
all inclusive.
That's fine. I just wanted to make that clear.
Let me add this to it. The Mountain Water District Board is an independent board under Kentucky statutes. I don't recommend people that I try to tell them how to run it. They got a Public Service Commission, and it does that. And they, by their own, I understand, they also do an audit. So you have two audits. You have one by the Public Service Commission, and it is called something different than a regular audit, but it is an audit. I've looked at it before. And then they do the regular audit with a CPA firm. So I think we ought to go ahead and appoint these. My recommendation, and I have a motion on the floor, and go ahead and reappoint these people, and I'll be glad to work with you all on the things that you said. But I think that these people, and a lot of things that's discussed, you had a new board, and these people are all new, and a lot of things transpired before they even got to the board. And of course, then they have to bear the brunt of it, because that's the way we are. We're sitting here and we have a budget problem, but we have to face it, because that's what we're elected for, and that's what they're appointed to do. So you have a motion, Madam Clerk, take a.
Judge, before you go on, I'd like to say, I'd like to ask Rhonda a question. I don't want to put her on the spot. If she don't want to answer, she don't have to. But I would like to say, are we seeing, every time I go to Wimpson or Food City, there's people in there asking me about their sewage in Forest Hills and South Wimpson area and Belfry area. And they say, you guys need to help us get this done. And, you don't have to answer. I know it's been a sticky question, but I would like to know how far progressed are we with helping them people get sewage over there?
Let me say we'd probably need to give you a complete update at the next meeting, and I can do that, because I got a notice the other day on the Pond Creek project had been put on hold because of a lawsuit, and they was ready to go to bid. If my email was correct, Jeannie, that's in there in the office.
Ready to do what, Judge?
I talked about Pond Creek, and then on Peter Creek, I did get a report on Peter Creek, and I intended to bring it in here, and I didn't. But the next court meeting, or Jeannie, we need to probably give them either a fax or email, or get it to them today on the latest report we got from the district. I meet and have been ever since I've been in office, all these terms when we've had a water district. I always meet with the general manager or the manager and the superintendent once a month. And they gave us this update, and I intended to bring that update out here with me, and I didn't. He'll go get it, and I'll be glad, but it did say that one in Pond Creek is held up due to a lawsuit.
Well,
They're
well,
ready to
Judge,
go to bid.
you know, you say that, and if you want to update, I've got a map here in front of me from 2007 that shows the Pond Creek Sewer Plant on the 0 to 2 year plan, projected plan.
Correct.
And they've yet to turn a single stone on the project. So there's not even been a groundbreaking. So if I made the comment before the end of last year that if something wasn't done, that there were people in my community that wanted to file a complaint with the Public Service Commission, and that's what they did. So, you know, to say that they're holding up the project, no, they're not holding up the project. As soon as the project's ready to go, they'll be glad to dismiss their suit.
Oh, good. That's
But
fine.
but the
I
problem.
think that's what it said.
But the problem is, well, I'm sure that's what it says.
That's what it
But the
said.
problem
They
is
would
they're gonna have
contact
to have
them,
something
they would
concrete
contact the
for
people who
them.
filed the suit, and if it was dismissed, they'd proceed.
They're gonna have something concrete for them to say, here's what's gonna happen and when it's gonna happen, and they'll be glad to dismiss their suit. But no, they're not holding anything up.
Judge, I'd like to also say that, you know, we talk about transparency and we talk about communications with one another. City and the county has been a big topic. And I think, you know, we as a fiscal court need to have more communication with Mountain Water and more talk on what's happening each month. And you know, that way we'll know what's going on. If it's us go to their meetings or them come to our meetings. But I think, you know, as long as we point fingers and blame each other, we're not going to get anything accomplished. But I think, you know, we're responsible for that board, so we should be responsible for communicating with them and finding out what they're doing and what we want them to do.
Right.
You know, we're just at their mercy.
Let me read to you what I was talking about. This project is currently on hold, recommended by the district legal counsel due to a suit filed against the District Public Service Commission by residents of Belfry. Until the outcome is clear, purchase of the property at Peg Branch cannot move forward, nor can the application for funding be complete. One of the 4 scenarios the district is considering for the project. Customer signups are being completed in an effort to have that done with when this issue is resolved by the PSC. That's what I have on that one now.
Yeah, well, Judge, let me just say something about that. I represent those people for free. Don't charge them a penny because I felt sorry for them, what they've been going through, okay? I can tell you for a fact that there's nothing more they want than to have public wastewater service at Belfry, okay? When they get ready to go, when things get ready to start happening, instead of quit talking about it, they'll be glad to dismiss their complaint.
That'll be
But
fine.
until then, they're not going to dismiss anything.
That's correct. Now,
With all due respect, Mr. Harris,
let me-
before the suit was filed, there was a motion by the board to purchase the property, and then you filed the suit. There are 2 people on that complaint that are outside of even the plan, the original plan. So, I mean, and I don't want to go back and forth, and I hate that when that happens, but and I understand that people want to move things forward, and so does the board, and we've worked really hard to do that, and we've presented you and the community with the information of what we have done. And the funding, when you look at a project that's $6 million and you have $2.8 million, that's difficult.
Yeah, well, you started having the meetings after we filed the complaint. We filed our complaint when I said in court, when we were gonna file the complaint, nothing was done, so we moved forward and filed the complaint. Here's a map from 2007, I've got it right here, that shows that project was on the 0 to 2 year
Without
plan.
funding Mr. Harris, what do you do? When you need to have a
That's right.
$6 million
That's
project,
right.
what's that?
And-
You have 2.8, what do you do?
And we go back to the
Let's
very,
move on.
my very
No use in
point,
arguing.
that we don't have a board in place that's willing to go out and get the funding.
We asked you to help us, and you
let's-
filed a
let's move
complaint.
on.
Asked me a month ago.
There are no arguing. Let's move on. We got a lot of business to take care of. I'm gonna ask for a vote. Then I'm gonna address Magistrate Dotson's question in regard to the Phelps-Freeburn upgrade over there. Madam Clerk.
Magistrate Anderson.
Are these on the two board appointments? No.
Magistrate Johnson. We're voting on to appoint,
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy,
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson,
Yes.
Magistrate Dodson,
Yes.
Magistrate Harris,
No.
and Judge Rutherford.
Motion carried. Magistrate Dodson, I want to go back and give you what they gave me on the Phelps-Freeburn water wastewater plant. The design for this project is complete at the Division Water for review and approval on that one. One other one for Magistrate Robinson, and this is great news. As he knows, we have hauled water into Bad Fork for many, many years. This court has paid for the water, paid the Lookout Fire Department for delivering the water, and that has been funded by AML. And now, and it's been approved, they've got notice that they have the money coming. They haven't given them a right to let the contract yet. They have a contractor, they're like we are, that we talked about today. Tom Wright Construction was the low bidder, and they have an extension from him. I presume that they're waiting for the new budget year to come in on July 1, and then we will get water finally on Bad Fork. I went up there a few years ago, and I know Magistrate Robinson can tell you this. I found a lady that had the creek dammed up and was standing out there, and I asked her what she was doing, because I knew they had potable water because we've been delivering it to them. She was waiting the creek to clear to get water to put in her wash machine so that she could wash her clothes. Now, that's what these people have gone through, and AML had turned us down. We've appealed that 3 times. Finally, we got to them that this was caused by mining. And they had all those millions of dollars, AML had, and that's the purpose of it. And that they needed to fund this. And finally, they decided, and we had help, I will say this, we had help from our congressman's office. They put the pressure to them. They helped us appeal. The engineers, I've been to meetings in Frankfurt in regard to this issue in the past, and I know that AML got a new director, and I had thought in the back of my mind that, well, that probably had something to do with it, because the fellow who is now director was present when we went down and talked to him about what these people was going through on Bad Fork. And that is an area, as you all know, we got 98% of this county covered with water. But you got that other percentage is in the head of the hollers, and Bad Fork is one of those that has nobody living. The Big Sandy Land Company owns for the first probably half a mile. No homes there. So they can't amortize the investment under the Kentucky Public Service Commission guidelines. The way they require you to build water lines are so costly, you can't amortize the investment, and therefore what we have left of 2%, as you magistrates know, because you have an extension fund, there's not much money goes in it every year. But now AML says, and we're going to get money to do that with. So that one there. The other one that we had was also, we found out that finally AML had approved the Dameron-Ratliff Road, and you all know where that is. And FEMA had got involved in this. They recommended that road is the left fork up Hars's Creek, is that where that is? FEMA's involved in this one. And they had approved that, small project, but they've approved it as losing their water table, and it's eligible under theirs. We have also, water treatment plant at Robinson Creek, Magistrate Johnson, in your district. Let's go first to the water plant at Marbone. They're just now completing at Marbone the filter media, the sand pumps and chemical pumps, lamella tube replacement, and that's either done or in progress. And the calibrating system, a computer system, and they put a new system in it will do a filter bed optimization inspection that's done by computer. So that will improve that at the mouth of Hars's Creek in that plant. Up Shelby Creek, the Douglas upgrade, application for this project, that's the one that the CDBG grant was, they're listed as the one applicant this year for Pike County. Also, an application had been prepared to piggyback that with ARC funds to enlarge the Douglas, to upgrade the Douglas plant. That plant was put in by this body back in when the gasification plant was built in the 70s. That was part of the package. It was given to the Mountain Water District, and of course they have maintained it all these years since they took over up there and do the maintenance on that facility today. We have asked that Summit Engineers do a study, so when we negotiate with the city in 2015, Metro County Attorney, on the leachate that Bobby Mullins, that we're hauling to the city, that we'll take that issue off the table. We've talked to the engineers and Mountain Water about if they, in this new redesign, and that they make sure that they can take our leachate in the future up to Robinson Creek in the county system that the county gave to the Mountain Water District. So Magistrate Johnson, that's in your district, and that is being upgraded. And the Ridgeline Road project we talked about today, they're signing up from 1 to 6 today, 1 to 3 today, or 6 at the Little Fox Church. Now the various lines extension, 2 primary projects on this funding has been done with the money that's in Magistrate Robinson's account for extensions, and that was 2, and those 2 are, I'll find the names in just a minute. The 2 that's been approved in your district is on this somewhere, on this report that I have here, because I had seen it previously. But the 2 in your district, right here it is, it's Norman Cook Road and the Old Shelbyana Road. Those projects now have been approved, and they've chosen due to recent interest by the customers and by customers that come into my office and your office and to the water district, and they have performed the door-to-door site surveys for both these locations, and construction will begin this month. So that's all that the last report I had from the Mountain Water District. One thing that I forgot that's on the calendar today is to acknowledge a revised budget by the Pike County Conservation District. They just brought it to us before the meeting, and we approved their budget, and there was a minor change they wanted to make in it. They're still within their budget number that they submitted, but they had to change a line item, I understand. I need a motion to accept, for the record, a copy of the Pike County revised annual budget.
Motion.
Have a motion by Magistrate Anderson, I have a second Magistrate Johnson, I have a roll call vote.
Magistrate Anderson.
Judge, before I vote, I think, have you spoken with any of the members? I think they may be looking to relocate. Have you?
Jeannie, have they contacted you in regard to that?
I spoke to one of the local members, and I think they may be even scheduling, maybe come up to the meeting.
Well, we need to probably talk to them about the Justice Building. Would you set that up?
Yeah, I will. I'll set it up.
Set it up and get Jeannie and get it on the calendar and bring them up here. Charles, you all need, and Bobby Branham, who's not here, and Judge Hay, we need to get a meeting set up by him and talk to him about some of the offices we'll have once they move next month. This month and next month.
Yes, I'll vote yes. Yes.
I gotta send that into Frankfurt, Jeannie, I'll make you a copy. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dodson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes. Miss Stacy, we're dreading you today, but in time, but it'll be fine. I'm gonna let Treasurer go with her and get that behind us, and then I'm gonna go to you, and then we're gonna go in for a short meeting to talk about personnel. Don't need a meeting back? Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and, we don't need to go back and have a meeting on personnel.
Judge, I think we do.
Yeah, so we can, Madam Treasurer, if you will go, we'll go to you next and get that behind us.
Authorize any necessary transfers and interfund transfers to pay the bills, payroll, health, and life insurance.
I have a motion, Magistrate Murphy, have a second. A roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dodson. Magistrate Harris.
Abstain.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes.
Acknowledge receipt of previously approved transfers and interfund transfers for May 7th, May 21st, and June 5th.
Have a motion. Have a motion, Magistrate Robinson, have a second, Magistrate Anderson, have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson.
Yes.
Magistrate Dodson. Magistrate Harris.
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes.
Assistant County Attorney, would you have the second reading and adoption of the Budget Amendment Number 6?
Mr. County Attorney.
Yes, in summary form, this is a second reading of a budget amendment. It's an ordinance relating to fiscal year 2012-2013 annual budget amendment thereof. Section 1A, receipts, total amended revenues of $499,112.64. Section B, appropriations, total amended appropriations of $499,112.64. It's been duly advertised and approved by the state and local finance office. Require motion, second, majority vote.
Have a motion. Have a motion, have a second, Magistrate Robinson, have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy. Yes. Magistrate Robinson.
Yes.
Magistrate Dodson. Magistrate Dodson. Yes. Magistrate Harris.
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes.
Acknowledge receipt of the Treasurer's May 2013 financial statement.
Have a motion. Motion, Magistrate Murphy, have a second, Magistrate Anderson, have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy. Yes. Magistrate Robinson.
Yes.
Magistrate Dodson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes.
Authorize payment of the expenditure approval list dated June 17th, 2013, and authorization to add any other utility and telephone bills that are received before the checks are run.
The finance director and I reviewed these, and I want to thank the commissioners and directors. You understand our budget situation, and I found everything that you was considerate, and hopefully that'll help us as we face our budget situation this budget year. We have a motion, Magistrate Robinson. We have a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy. Yes. Magistrate Robinson.
Yes.
Magistrate Dodson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
Abstain.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes.
Authorize any registration fees and lodging for Bobby Mullins to attend the summer 2013 Solid Waste Coordinators of Kentucky SWAC meeting July 25th and 26th, 2013 at the Barren River Lake Resort Park.
Motion.
Motion by Master Anderson, have a second. Master Robinson, have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Ruthford?
Yes.
Authorize the following checks in the amounts of North Carolina Vietnam Helicopter Pilot Association, a helicopter for the Vietnam Traveling Memorial Wall in the amount of $550. Republic Bank, whenever we receive the auction proceeds on the payoff of CAECO number 34 in the amount of $1,017,878.12. The Vietnam Traveling Memorial Wall, final payment on the Vietnam Traveling Memorial Wall, $5,376. And then there was one laying here from Jeannie, Hawkeye Contracting Company, $18,000 on connector from Fish Trap Road to Upper Pompey Road.
I explained previously the money that the county and the city had on it, and the money's been taken up, and it just came through our budget. So that's what that 550 and the 536.76 is. Do I have a motion? Motion. I have a motion, have a second, have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Abstain.
Judge Ruthford?
Yes.
I have no further business.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Mr. Stacy, you have a lot of bids today.
I'll try to cover them really quick. We had 8 regular material bids and 3 flow work bids to present. The first bid is bid number 27 for bituminous hot mix. Received 1 bid from Mountain Enterprise. Attached is the price sheet for the Shelbyana plant. He didn't attach a price list for the Jenkins plant, but he said that he would extend these prices for Shelbyana to Jenkins if you wanted to buy blacktop from there. It is recommended to award the bid to the above listed vendor. Bid number 28 for hardware items and small tools. Received 9 bids. Elkhorn City True Value of Elkhorn, J.D. Westcott Son of South Williamson, Justice Supply Company of Pikeville, Lowe's of Pikeville, MGC Supply of Pikeville, Riverside Supply of Regina, Thompson's Hardware of Zebulon, Tri-County Hardware of Kemper, and Right Way Rental and Supply of Pikeville. It is recommended to award the bid to all the above listed vendors. Next bid is bid number 29 for lubricants. Received 3 bids: Apollo Oil of Winchester, Childers Oil Company of Whitesburg, and Wayne Supply of Pikeville. It's recommended to award the bid to all the above listed vendors. Bid number 30 is for off-road diesel. Received 1 bid from Jones Oil Company of Pikeville. It is recommended to award the bid to the above listed vendor. Bid number 31 is for office supplies. Received 6 bids. Ashland Office of Ashland, CNR Office Supply of Pikeville, East Kentucky Chemical and Supply of Pikeville, Comex Business Solutions of South Charleston, Office Supply of Somerset, Office Depot of Somerset, and Stationers Incorporated of Huntington. It is recommended to award the bid to all the above listed vendors. Bid number 32 is for uniforms. Received 7 bids. Aramark Uniform Services of Pikeville, Bluegrass Uniforms of Bowling Green, G&K Services of Kingsport, My Designs of Pikeville, Riverside Supply of Regina, Seagulls Uniforms of Evansville, and Wright's Designs of Jenkins. It is recommended to award the bid to all the above listed vendors. Bid number 33 for concrete. Received 2 bids. The Wells Group of West Liberty and Right Way Ready Mix LLC of Dorton is recommended to award the bid to all the above listed vendors. Bid number 4 for sodium chloride reverse osmosis received no bids. The next section is our flood work bids. We had 3 of those. The first bid is bid number 35. Gabion wire baskets in place, received 10 bids. Chris Construction, bid price $175 per cubic yard. Halls Construction, $125. Hess Contracting, $275. Jackie D. Smith Enterprise, $175. JBC Incorporated, $180. Norson Enterprise, $200. Pikeville Paving and Construction, $175. Prater Construction, $200. Strata Services, $152. And York Smith Construction, $180. It's recommended to award the bid to the lowest bidder, which would be Halls Construction, who had the lowest evaluated bid price of $125 per cubic yard. And also any bidders that can match the lowest bidder's price be a approved backup bidder. Bid number 36 is for drilled steel in place. Received 4 bids. Chris Isaac, $30.89 per foot. Jackie D. Smith Enterprises, $45 per foot. King Creek Drilling, $30 per foot. And Norson Enterprise, $35 per foot. It's recommended to award the bid to the lowest bidder, who is King Creek Drilling Incorporated, having the lowest bid price of $30 per linear foot. And also any bidders that can match the lowest bidder's price being approved backup bidder. And the last bid is bid number 37 for grouted riprap in place. Received 13 bids. Chris Construction, $64.50 per cubic yard. Chris Isaac Enterprises, $56.49. Hall's Construction, $54. Hess Contracting, $200. Jackie D. Smith Enterprise, $175. Jared Smith Construction, $58.90. JBC Incorporated, $200. Labco LLC, $332. Norson Enterprise, $165. Pikeville Paving and Construction, $145. Prater Construction, $200. Strata Services, $110. And York Smith Construction, $58.75. It is recommended to award the bid to the lowest bidder, who is Hall's Construction, having the lowest evaluated bid price of $54 per cubic yard. And also any bidders that can match the lowest bidder's price being approved backup bidder.
Need a motion to the recommendation of the purchasing agent, Mr. Stacy. Motion by Magistrate Robinson, second by Magistrate Johnson. Roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy?
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson?
Yes.
Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Harris?
Yes.
Judge Ruth?
Yes. Mr. County Attorney, personnel.
Judge, in the absence of the Personnel Director, I was asked to make the following recommendations on your behalf. Consistent with the budget previously passed today, approval to terminate effective June 8th, 2013, the following employees whose positions were not funded for budgetary reasons. Cindy Wetzel from the Judge Executive Office, Rachel Greer from the 911 Office, Barry Hamilton, Solid Waste, William Meade, Coroner's Office, Rush Hatfield, Trial Commissioner's Office, Galen Blackburn, Kevin Maggard, and Ronnie D. Dotson, Public Works Seasonal Mowing Crew. And the only other item is the approval to hire Galen Blackburn as a temporary loader for Solid Waste Area Number 2 at a 2H rate of pay, $10.64 per hour, effective June 11th, 2013. He's replacing Donnie Thacker Jr. Those would be your recommendations.
That's my recommendation, my motion to have a second. Have a second? Do we have a second? These folks have been notified that their position was not funded. Mr. County Attorney.
Judge, the only thing I can say is if you do not lay these people off, then you need to go back and amend the budget to fund these positions.
Yep.
You either got to lay them off or fund them, one or the other. You can't work them without paying them.
Well, and then if you got anybody that you want to reconsider, and I know I talked to Magistrate Johnson about a situation that he and I talked about, we have to go through this process, and then we have to amend the budget after the budget is finally approved. Am I correct, Mr. County Attorney? We'd have to take it up after we get the budget approved.
Yes.
It's changed, it'll have to be changed after the budget is approved.
Judge, since it's dealing with personnel, and we are not allowed to discuss it here in open court, do we need to go in executive session to discuss?
If you think you need to.
What do you think, County Attorney?
These are just positions that wasn't funded and had been approved in the budget.
I mean, if you want to discuss specific individuals, you can go in executive session to discuss specific
We can't change the
personnel.
budget until we approve it, Then the court can come back and amend the budget, and straighten anything out that needs to be straightened out. Magistrate Johnson and I had a conversation yesterday in regard to this. So that is your situation.
Evidently, your discussion didn't go too far if you can't get a second on your problem.
But I said you can't change the budget.
We can't change the budget, but we're gonna have to change the budget or change this right here, one of the two. Don't sound like we're going too far with it.
I tell you, this court really
You
is
can't
just,
make
it's
any,
just.
you cannot
I'll
make any
second-
changes to this
Jonda,
budget until after
Jonda,
July
Jonda,
1 anyway.
John, this court really is starting to amaze me. I will second the motion.
Have a roll call vote, please. We already got a budget, and we can amend that later.
Magistrate Anderson,
No.
Magistrate Johnson,
Oh, we vote no.
personnel.
The ones that got laid off for no funding in the budget.
You have to get a budget, then you can come back and amend your budget.
I'm not voting against them.
I understand. I talked to you yesterday.
So that's a no vote, Mr. Johnson, right?
Pick has a particular situation up there, and I understand what it is.
Magistrate Murphy,
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson, Magistrate Dodson, who knows?
2 and 2 right now. According to the roll call.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris,
Yes.
and Judge Rutherford.
Yes. Then we can come back and discuss these. And I understand, maybe the public don't understand, but I do, especially after.
I understand, we're gonna have to do one or the other. We either gonna have to vote to lay them off or go back and do a budget.
That's right. And we can amend the budget, and there are some questions on
Can't have your
one or
cake
two of
and eat
them.
it too.
And I said I had a conversation yesterday with Magistrate Johnson. I understand where he's coming from. Need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Magistrate Anderson, second by Magistrate Murphy. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson,
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson, Magistrate Murphy, Magistrate Robinson, Magistrate Dodson, Magistrate
Yes.
Harris, Judge Rutherford.